Hello and welcome to VR Poker Hands with me. I look to windward. Today we're going to be looking at another hand from the 25-50k uncapped between myself, Oswego and Hatcher. I'm put to some tough decisions in this hand. Let's see if I make the right ones.
Call. 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 Player folds. Raise. Call. Call. Fold.
So, pre-flop. Oswego has pocket threes under the gun and he limps. My views on limping are well known. I rarely think it's a good play. However, if you are going to limp, then pocket threes isn't a bad hand to choose. It disguises your big hands like aces and kings, and you're not giving up too much equity if you have to fold it before you see the flop. So I don't mind that too much. Hatcher is in a similar position. If he's going to have a range which calls the open limp, then including some big hands like pocket nines in there isn't a bad idea. It probably would be a more profitable play in the long run to raise, but calling is okay. Ludicrous calls and we don't know his hand. It folds to me in the big blind and I've got pocket tens. I have the option to check, which would be an okay decision, but I'm going to get much more value out of my big hands like pocket tens if I raise in this spot. I know I'm going to be playing the hand out of position, so I raise bigger than I might do if I was in position on the button, and hopefully I take the pot down there and then. If I get re-raised, it tells me that my opponent's got a narrower range than if they call, and if they call, I'm still not in a bad spot. At the end of the day, I've got pocket tens. Oswego has the option to re-raise and represent a hand like aces, but he calls and that's fine, and Hatcher does the same. A raise from Hatcher here would be interesting and make me have an interesting decision, but I think on balance, calling with pocket nines, home to spike a nine on the flop is the way to go. So we see a flop.
Here's the flop. Bet. Call. Call.
So the flop becomes 3-3-7 and Oswego does the happy dance, and Hatcher and I are in a world of pain. So Oz checks, absolutely the right play here. If he bets, he gets all of the hands that haven't connected with the flop to fold. I've got hands like ace king, ace queen, lots of middle pairs, lots of jack queen, king jack type hands. If he bets here, I'll fold the lot and he loses the value from his pocket threes. So he checks, and he checks to Hatcher, who has an interesting spot. He's got an overpair to the board, but if he bets, again, he's only going to get called by hands that are beating him. My range includes hands like tens through aces, and I'll fold all the hands that he's beating. So I think a check from Hatcher is a good play here. So it's check round to me, and I bet 50% of the pot. 50% is a good sized bet on this flop. It's a fairly dry board. Paired boards are always good because it makes it harder for your opponents to connect with them, and a 50% pot bet here means that hands that I do beat that have connected with the flop, like pocket twos through pocket sixes, with the exception of pocket threes, pocket sevens and pocket eights, 7-8, maybe 7-9 will call. And I want those hands that I'm beating to call. I want to set a price where marginal hands are put in a difficult position. Back to Oswego, and again I think a flat call in this spot is perfect. If he check raises here, he's basically saying he's got a 3, and then I'm likely to fold those hands which I'm not too comfortable with on the flop, and certainly everything that missed the flop. So Oswego calls, and Hatcher's in a really difficult position here. He could throw in a check raise. That's again, he's only going to get called by hands he's beating, and there's not much that I can fold which he's ahead of in this spot. Maybe pocket eights, but that's a pretty thin range to be trying to get to fold with a bet. So although I think Hatcher pretty much has to call, I don't think he can fold. I think a raise here would be very marginal. So I like Hatcher's play of a call on the flop.
The turn. Check. Check. Bet. Call. Call.
The turn is the 5 of clubs, which is not an overcard to the board and means that 4-6 has now got a straight and pocket 5s have now got a boat. Doesn't change much else though. So Oz checks again, and I think that's again a good play. I think if he bets all the hands that he beats, which is pretty much all of them, start to think about folding, and he's not going to get a lot of raises from anything other than a boat. Hatcher and I have both shown interest in the pot, so let us keep betting. Hatcher's got a really difficult decision here. We're now on the turn, and he's got pocket 9s as an overpair, which doesn't happen very often. If he checks, his hand is likely to get weaker on the river, so what does he do? And I think his bet here of about 25% pot is a good one. He's going to know if he's beaten, because I'm going to raise. If Oz has got a good hand, it gives Oz the opportunity to check raise. So I like Hatcher's bet. Then comes round to me, and I'm in a tough spot. I've got an overpair to the board, but both of my opponents have shown interest in a board which, given the fact that they limp pre-flop, they could very likely have hit. So what do? I decide to call Hatcher's bet. And already I'm not feeling particularly comfortable about the way this hand is progressing. So the action returns to Oz with his quad 3s. At this point, he's got a very strong option to check raise. The pot is now just short of 3.5 million. Oz started the hand with 15 million, and he should be thinking about how he can get my entire stack into the pot by the river. If he check raises here to about 2 or 3 million and gets a call, then he's going to have a really nice size bet on the river to try and get me to call for the entirety of his stack. If you have the opportunity with the nuts to get your opponent's entire stack into the pot, you should go for it. Sometimes they're going to fold, sometimes you're going to miss an opportunity on the river, but if you get the chance, slam your entire stack into the middle. So I think Oz misses an opportunity to re-raise here and get calls from all the houses, from the straights, from the larger overpairs, and instead he decides to call. I don't hate the call because I think there's still plenty of action to come on the river, but I think he limits his opportunities to win a huge pot.
The river. Check. Bet. Player folds.
The river is an offsuit jack, and it's really hard to see how that could change anything. The only conceivable holding that has improved is if I myself have got pocket jacks, or if Hatcher has, which is really unlikely. So no change from the turn. At this point, Oz has to start betting. He bets 2.5 million into a 4 million pot, which is a good sized bet, and will put all the overpairs, the straights and all the houses in a really difficult spot. Hatcher now has pocket 9s, and I think Hatcher is absolutely aware of the fact that the jack hasn't improved either of our hands, and is again has a difficult decision. His decision is made slightly easier by the fact that I've yet to act behind him. So if he calls, he's not closing the action, and I could re-raise, putting him to a decision for the rest of his stack. So after much agonising, I think he makes a really disciplined lay down with the 9s here, and the action's on me. Now, what am I beating here? I'm beating a total bluff from Oz. I'm beating pocket 8s. I'm beating ace-7. I'm beating pocket 9s. There's not a lot else that Oz can have except for total bluffs that I'm beating. So what total bluffs are there? There's a couple of raggedy gut shots that he could have called the flop and the turn bet with. But other than that, not a lot. He's got a lot of ace-3 in his hand. He's got pocket threes in his hand. He's got pocket sevens. He could have 4-6. So if I count up the number of hands that I'm beating against the number of hands that I think he beats me with, I think this could be a fold. I don't like it, and I think Oz is someone who's capable of bluffing in this spot, but on balance, I think a fold here would be absolutely fine. So, am I good enough to find the fold?
Call. Showdown. 4 of a kind.
No. Wow.
I had to hold my breath on that one.